All right, so I'm going to expand upon the 3 up video from Instagram today. Um, Basically, the National League is trying to petition, campaign, get the EFL to open up a third promotion spot for for the National League. Yeah, open up a third promotion spot for the league. Right now, it's one goes up on automatic promotion, and 2 through 7 enter a playoff, and the playoff winner goes up. So it's 2 up from the National League, 4 relegation spots in the National League, 2 relegation spots in League Two, and 4 relegation spots up from League Two to League One. So within League Two, it's 4 up and 2 down. Once you get to League Two, that's definitely appealing because there's twice as many spots for promotion as there are for relegation. But it makes it incredibly difficult for a National League side to get out of that league. And it's very, very competitive. And I don't think it's hard for at least Americans to kind of put their finger on how competitive it actually is because there's so many different leagues, there's so many different paths to pro. It's very difficult to pinpoint where talent exactly matches up. For example, how does an NCAA athlete at a big Division I program stack up within the system in England? Do they fit at a League Two level? Is it National League in the 5th step? Is it a bit below that in the National League North or South, the 6th step? You never, it's hard to tell, and you never fully know. I have my thoughts on where I think, certain talent levels would or would not fit, but it's like I said, it's not a very straightforward process, especially since you can't just go right over and play if you think that you meet that talent level. As I've said before, in order to hit that point to play from the United States and England, you have to have men's national team experience or regular MLS minutes. So even for somebody playing in USL Championship, USL League One, where do those types of players fit in? All the way down the English pyramid or another pyramid system within Europe. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint that because the players can't go that easy. And it's not that straightforward. There's a lot of rules and regulations that prevent that. So getting back to the importance of that promotion spot, there's way more eyes these days on the National League. Wrexham was huge for that. Myself even wasn't really in tune with what the National League was doing until Rob and Ryan purchased Wrexham. And that kind of opened my eyes to at least how far down the pyramid actually goes and, how competitive it is. I mean, these guys are incredibly talented, at least in the National League. It's technically semi-pro, but 90%, if not all of the clubs are full-time. So you're talking about professional full-time footballers trying to make it in, limited spots to move up. To maintain that competitive balance, it creates more parity and more opportunity. And I think that's important because there's some big clubs in the National League and National League clubs that have gone up. Like I said in the video today on Instagram, it's not just this automatic, you go up and then those teams are going to go right back down. That does make you more likely to, if you are newly promoted, you would be the odds-on favorite to go back down. But like I said, you look at clubs, you have Wrexham, obviously different type of situation. They keep going up. They're knocking on the door of the championship. You have Notts County, Chesterfield, Bromley, 3 other big clubs. Notts County's in a playoff spot right now in League Two. Chesterfield, Bromley, sort of mid-table. Grimsby Town was in the National League in 2021, 2022, and then the next season went on a crazy FA Cup run that brought them all the way to the quarterfinal. You look at Tranmere, who played Tottenham this year in the FA Cup. 2 years ago, they were in step 7. Now they're in the National League, and they just had a home draw for Tottenham to come to their ground. So their upwards trajectory is moving in a positive direction. They're sort of mid-table in the National League, but clubs like that who are going up and up and up, you want to open up more opportunity for them. 10 years ago, or I guess 11 years ago now, Luton Town was in the National League and they made it all the way up to the Prem. So it's possible for these clubs to have that opportunity. And that's the beauty of the game. That's the beauty of promotion and relegation. And I think you're really handicapping clubs, again, real clubs with aspirations and goals and strategy and their businesses. And they have passionate fans and they want that opportunity to see their club play in the football league. Playing in the football league is a huge, huge, huge deal. For me personally, that's the biggest thing I want to see out of Dorking in the near future. I want to see us play in the football league. That's when you start to get that promotion windfall. It's about £1 million a season. That's when you become a football league club. It's going to open up way more opportunity for exposure and streaming and structure. And when you enter FA Cup draws and the types of players you're looking at and the types of academies that you need to run, it completely changes the business operation. Again, this is from a perspective of somebody involved in a club, and that club has never been to the football league before. Obviously, there's teams that go up to the football league, drop out of it from time to time. But in the lens of a team that's never been there before, it's a huge deal. And that's the biggest step or promotion we could get for a very long time. I think that getting from the National League to League Two, if you've never been there before, you get that prize money, you start to change your business operation, you have to meet the standards of, stadium capacity. You're going to get a much bigger draw than you've ever seen before if you're in the football league. And Dorking plays in a county called Surrey, and the biggest club or the highest up club in Surrey right now is Woking, Dorking's rival. But there's no football league club in Surrey. So everything's greater London area, and becoming that football league club in Surrey would be a huge deal for a club the size of ours. And that's that step. I can't talk about enough how big of a deal that would be. Like I said, completely changes the business operation, completely changes everything that you're going to do. And then it really, from an outsider's perspective or an American perspective, makes it look, smell, and feel a lot more like a full-time real club. Even though it is a real full-time club, commercially, it looks a lot better. And then you're going to start to bring in more money. Obviously, you have to manage the salaries and players you're bringing in and the roster a lot differently. But that's the biggest step that you take. And I'll say until you get to the championship. But for me, it's not about getting to the championship. It's when you get to the championship and you decide that you're going to start spending on trying to get to the Premier League, because that's incredibly difficult. That's when you see teams lose a lot of money per week, hundreds of thousands of pounds per week, because you're competing at least with 3 clubs that are freshly relegated that still are operating on a Premier League budget. You have other big clubs that have been there. So if there's 6 spots at the top, 2 go up, the rest are in the playoffs. If you're looking at those 6 spots every season, you already have half of those spots occupied by clubs operating with a Premier League size budget. So teams go bankrupt or, get themselves into financial trouble all the time trying to make that Premier League push. And I'm fascinated to see how Wrexham handles this if they go up, because that's when it changes. Again, getting to the championship is that, other big step, probably bigger than getting from the National League to League Two. But again, I think it changes in the championship when you decide you're making that push for the Prem, because that's where everybody wants to be. That's the huge promotion windfall. They call that playoff final the most lucrative match in sports. Final at Wembley, winner is guaranteed, 160 million pounds over 3 seasons, that type of thing. So working your way up the leagues, getting from the National League to League Two is the biggest jump you could make, if not the second biggest jump you can make, if you want to look at it that way, before the Prem. Going from League One or League Two to League One, there's a lot of open competition there. A lot of clubs are relatively similar. If you look at the top half of League Two, most of League One, and the bottom half of the championship, there's an incredible amount of parity there and who shifts up and down, excluding some, super big clubs like Sheffield Wednesday or Sunderland, who may spend a brief amount of time in League One or have in recent seasons. But that step is so big, and trying to fight for that promotion spot, you have to win the league to go up automatically. 2 through 7 go to the playoffs. 2 and 3 get a bye. Playoffs play out that way. Promotion winner goes up to to League Two. You're talking about a league of 24 teams, and there's 2 spots. That's like 8% of the spots are available for promotion. And then you're also dealing with 4 down. When Dorking was relegated from the National League last season, I believe we were the 4th spot, like the highest spot that could still go down, or maybe second below that. But it was very, very close. You're dealing with twice the amount of relegation spots as there are to go up. So it does increase parity. It does mean a great deal to these clubs if you have that extra chance. Wrexham and Notts County battled it out when they both went up. Both in a different season would have set the points record for the National League. Now, Notts County came in second, and they almost lost that promotion final. They played a season worthy of being automatically promoted, and that is what they deserved because they had that type of season. So if you can open up that extra spot, it makes all the difference in the world, because then you're going from 8% to like 12.5% of spots that are open for promotion. And that is popping in is in. That is massive. I can't understate how big of a deal that is. And I know I keep repeating that, but like if you could open up that extra spot, it increases parity. Everything I think should be 3 up, 3 down. It makes it way easier. The spots. You don't have to, at least from Premier League to National League, because when you get to the National League North and South, maybe not actually. When you get to the National League, maybe you can't do 3 down because you have 2 from the South and 2 from the North. So you keep that for relegation spots. But outside of that, 3 up, 3 down makes a lot of sense to me. Straightforward, keeps parity. Everybody knows every season what you're getting into. Obviously, they know that now, but I just think that, why are we making it that difficult for clubs to get that promotion? You're fighting for minimal spots, and there's clubs that stay in the National League that are worthy of getting promoted to the Football League. And that's ultimately what we want to see. We want to reward clubs that are pushing forward in a positive direction and are worthy of those spots in League Two. It changes everything for the fans, the business, the players, even for players, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but you play the game to win. And I know there's more of a community aspect to that, but in my opinion, you play the game to win. That's where you want to be. You want to, push up the table, and you want to keep winning and try to, foster success as you move forward. So, like I said, there's more eyes on the National League now more than ever. I can't speak to how competitive it was or was not back in the day, but 10, 15 years ago, nobody knows anything about the National League. Nobody knows it exists. Nobody knows anything about it. People would probably write it off. But now, as the seasons go by, it's looking more and more like a league that belongs in the EFL as opposed to outside of it. And now watching a season of Dorking playing in the National League, being relegated and moving into the National League South, the National League is significantly more competitive than the National League South in terms of the size of the clubs and the quality on the pitch. So the National League is really, that top 5 steps. The National League is closer in line with at least mid to bottom half of League Two. In my opinion, the top teams in the National League are probably more in line with mid to bottom of League Two than any National League North or South club is to the league above. And like I said, streaming since 2022, increased in popularity. It could have been this competitive back in the day. I actually have no idea about that. But it is competitive, and like I said, they consider it the highest tier of non-league football. So the football league is the Premier League, bit of a breakaway league. Then you have Championship, League One, League Two, then the National League. And the National League, even when you get there, it's harder to compete because it's the first actual national league. Like everything in the National League South and North in Step 6 is much more regional. And you start to travel much further and increase your travel expenses a lot more when you get to the National League. And the windfall of getting to the National League, I think, is like 60,000 pounds. So it's not very significant. You're probably breaking even on travel costs alone with that amount. And, hopefully this 3-Up campaign can eventually lead to a little bit more money from the Prem trickling down to the National League. Because once you hit that step, like I said, you're traveling nationally. It changes the game a lot, and it's very difficult to get out of. So you want to make that more sustainable for the clubs that have achieved that level. And that's not to say that we need to box out everybody in Step 6 in the National League South, National League North, et cetera. But with the structure of the pyramid, the National League is a fascinating step of that transition to football league to everything else non-league. And like I said, in my opinion, it looks a lot closer to something that's EFL quality as opposed to non-league quality. And I think that many leagues and many clubs have quality within each of those individual leagues. Some better than others, some may be a little more top heavy, but the talent is there. And again, if you have 5 steps of the pyramid, Prem, Championship, League One, League Two, National League, you got 5 strong steps. There's got to be no other country on the planet. There definitely is no other country in the planet that could have 5 steps that are that solid and that strong. And that's a product of England being the birthplace of the game. The foundation is unbelievable. In their league structure. So I think that they should reward that a little bit more. The EFL says that they're open to the idea, but there hasn't been a ton of movement. And that's what you want. You want the hope. You want the opportunity. You want the chance to be able to play at that level. And like even Dorking, the squad we have now would absolutely be competitive in the National League. We may win the league. We may have to go to the playoffs. We're definitely in that upper echelon of the National League South. And I know it's a bit different because we're talking National League and this is National League South. But again, with the 2 promotion spots, anywhere else you finish second, you go up. Anywhere else above. Why not open that up? If a team gets relegated, they probably deserve it, and it's tough because obviously we were in a position where we were just freshly relegated, where there were 4 relegation spots. So it's tough to figure out, who's deserving or who's not deserving of that because there's a lot of luck involved. It's a game, right? A lot of subjectivity. But let's open it up. Let's give those National League clubs a chance to play in the Football League because it's going to make it more fun for a lot more fan bases and a lot more markets. It's going to make getting to the National League feel like a bigger deal. It could potentially open up room for the Premier League to trickle some of that money down. And let's support these clubs. Let's, everything Wrexham has done is great, but I want to see more stories like that. Luton Town, again, 10 years ago, National League, up to the Prem last season. And they might even go down to League One. So it all changes so quickly. But again, I've been to a Dorking Wrexham match. Like I've seen Dorking play, not always in person, but I have watched them play Notts County and Chesterfield and Bromley and Wrexham and all these clubs. And it's a competitive, fun league to watch. You can watch all the National League games on DAZN, 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 whatever it's pronounced or whatever it's called. And that's crazy. You can watch all the National League games And that's what people should do. You should go and you should watch it because it's fun, it's competitive, and that's where you get to see these really grassroots fan bases. And then you have like those grassroots clubs and tight-knit communities. And then when you see them with the chance, like playing at Wembley or getting one of those promotion spots and going up to the football league, I mean, it would feel like winning the Super Bowl for Dorking if they were to get to League Two. We could go up twice, get to League Two, and live in that league for a very long time and be a full blown, what would feel like a more full blown professional team. Again, not that they're not, but it changes everything so much where it just feels, I could turn on ESPN some days and stream their matches. We enter the FA Cup draw at a different time. We enter the EFL Cup tournaments. It just gives you so much more hope and excitement. And I don't fully understand the purpose of not having that extra spot. I mean, I guess some could argue that it protects you once you make it all the way up to the football league. It's harder to go back down to the National League. But if we balance it out a little bit more, it won't seem as daunting. And then those teams that, do get bounced from League Two, it's easier for them to get back up to where they were before. Let's bring the parity into the game a little bit better. Let's open it up and let's reward the National League for what it is. And that base and foundation helps support the rest of the pyramid. And I truly, truly believe that. So I think 3-up is a great idea. I think we should all keep pushing for it to happen, and we will see what happens. Will it come to fruition? I don't know. I'm obviously not involved in any of those conversations. I don't know how far those talks are going. I've heard rumors about it. Obviously, stuff like this pops up, but man, that's what I want to see. I want to see Dorking fighting for a spot in the football league because, like I said, it would feel like winning the Super Bowl. Going up to that would feel like an unbelievably huge step, and Dorking could be there for a very long time, and it wouldn't matter because it's about being a football league club. And having been formed in 1999, that's something that most people wouldn't have dreamed of being able to happen in 30 years' time. I mean, it's been 25 now, but you figure it could happen. You get 2 promotions in 5 seasons, you don't know. And then that would just change, it put Dorking on a more global map, much larger than people would think. There's a number of clubs in League Two that people know by name. You have Wimbledon, you have Bradford, more that just aren't popping into my mind right now. But there's still a number of clubs that are big. Like Bradford's big. Bradford's got like a 20,000 seater, a bunch of loyal season ticket holders. Bradford shouldn't even be in League Two. But imagine Dorking fans on an away trip watching their club play in this big building with a bunch of, 10, 15,000 people there. That's what it's all about. And I know I said it's all about winning, and it is to me from an American perspective, but it's really about that. It's about those moments. It's about those away trips and the camaraderie and where your community is going and having those matches and having those FA Cup runs. And that all becomes significantly more possible with that extra promotion spot. And it opens up everything financially, commercially, everything. I think it completely changes the game. So I can't speak enough about how important this would be. And whether parity is good for sports or not is one thing, but people want it. Fans want parity. It makes it more exciting. I mean, even in the Premier League this year, you have clubs like Fulham, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest is going to absolutely end up in a Champions League spot this season. You think their fans aren't having a great time? They don't have to win the league to enjoy their season. They can enjoy that qualification spot. And even if they don't get it, it was about being, having this exciting season where it was very real and very possible. The FA Cup runs, all those things that I keep mentioning, that's what it's about. It's about taking pride in where you're from and your small community and having it be on a more national stage within England. So I think it's important. I think it's hopefully going to happen. And I hope that Dorking's in the National League when it does happen, because I'll tell you, that'll be a big day. And I know for fact that if that does happen when we are in the National League, because we will get there again, the club's going to try to get one of those spots. We're going to try to be a football league club. And that's what I want to help happen. I want to help raise money for the club. I want to help bring eyes on the club and attract those sponsors and get Americans paying attention to what we're doing, streaming matches, all those fun things. So, buying merch, all that stuff, joining the Red and White Army, being a part of it, having that, supporting a grassroots community from somewhere that's so far away that you can still get behind because what we're doing is special and unique. So let's open up that opportunity, man. Let's get to that point. That's what I want to see. That's what we need to see. I'll hear about the news on the progress of this with the general public pretty much. So, we'll see if anything comes of this. I don't see why you wouldn't want to, outside of protecting the teams that do get to the football league. But again, it's a give and a take. It's pros and cons to everything. If you open up that extra relegation spot, there's that extra promotion spot to still work your way back and jump back up. And as I said before, it's not like these teams that have gone up in the past couple seasons are just automatically getting bounced back down. Most of them have done a good job at staying. I think in the past 2 seasons, it was Wrexham, Notts County. Wrexham's continued to go up. Notts County could go up to League One. And then last season was Chesterfield and Bromley. And both of those clubs don't look like they're a relegation threat. So last 2 seasons, those clubs have consolidated very well in League Two. And I'm sure their fans are loving it. I'm sure their fans are absolutely through the roof to watch their club be represented in a league like that. So, I know I kind of was a bit repetitive on this, but I think it's really, really important. And that's what I want to see happen. So let's hope that pushes forward. Let's hope it benefits Dorking and pushes us in the right direction, and we will see where it goes. But, any thoughts and opinions on this? I'd love to hear a counter argument. I'm always open to debate. I love to debate. I love to argue. I love to get heated. So I want to see that as well. So, yeah. Let's hope that happens. Let's hope Dorking's in a position to snag one of those spots and continue to fight and make that push towards the football league.